Welcome to the ABQ Accent, where catalysts, innovators, and risk takers share what their accent is on their work. Like a spoken accent, we all have an inflection or emphasis on where we put our energy. Join us to learn how these folks are putting their accents to work, building their vision of the future, and how you can get involved.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mariah Harrison here with the ABQ Accent podcast, and it is yet again a pleasure for me to have a very special guest today, Sheehan. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure again. And so I guess there's so many things that I can say about you, but I don't really have to do so because there are things like your website. There are things like magazines with information about you on them. There are events around the state that might have information about you. So I don't want to overdo it. And I also want you to share your own story today. Where I'm going with this is that we have a lot to learn from you. I think if someone sits and listens with you for a long time, they'll learn so much, not just about the wine industry, but New Mexico as a whole. And so thank you for your work. Thank you for being who you are.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to be on your podcast.
Yeah. Okay, let's see where it goes. So, Sean, and one of the reasons I also should say ahead of time that I wanted to have you on today is because you're so vibrant and full of this energy. This is a nonstop personality, and this is the Sean that you get all the time. I know that you have, your moments where you're running a business and you have a big, beautiful family, but this is the energy that I wanted to share with people more than anything. So the learning aspect and who you are and your heart.
Well, thank you. It's just exciting to be able to live my passion, to live my dreams. The whole goal of my adult life was to start this winery. And to be honest, it's going way better than I thought it was going to go. So I continue to wake up every day feeling very fortunate to have healthy kids, a wonderful wife, a wonderful family, a business that's thriving, and be in an industry that's growing.
The gratitude is very present. I appreciate that. All right, so I'll do what I can for your bio, and then you need to fill in some spots.
You got it.
So Sean was born here in Albuquerque. He went to Albuquerque High, class of 1999. He even spent some time in New York and LA working in the film industry, which is admirable. And that also does absolutely speak to your work ethic that you have brought back to the work that you do today, which is evident in everything that you produce. But you came back to Albuquerque with a very distinct directive for yourself, and that is that you wanted to dedicate your work entirely to New Mexico grapes and world-class quality grapes that produced world-class quality wines. So for the next decade, you pursued that dream, working as a winemaker by day and a waiter by night, 7 days a week to fund and refine this vision. And I do want to clarify that one of the reasons I know that this is true is because I was there in the beginning and I saw the hard work come through every day. So let's see, in 2015 is when the winery really opened. You were able to sell your wine. You were able to realize this lifelong dream. And the winery has remained deeply committed to community impact, sustainability, and crafting the highest quality wines possible, again, using 100% New Mexico grown grapes. And for you, this is not just a business, it's a reflection of place, persistence, and a belief in what New Mexico wine can be. That's really beautiful. It starts the story. It reflects your long-term vision, but I think it also, as you will explain, talks about how important it is to recognize what New Mexico land and people have to offer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel very grateful and blessed to be in this position talking to you today and the opportunity to tell a little bit of the story of how the winery came to be.
Please do. Yeah.
I met Mariah working at Zinc, like at the very beginning when it was first opening, and I was working way during the day. My first winemaking job was working over at Casa Rendena Winery in the North Valley. Beautiful place. Mm-hmm. I caught the wine bug. To be honest, I came back from New York City from working in the entertainment industry to become a doctor because my mom had talked me into it. She's like, oh, you got good grades in high school. You're a smart kid. Why don't you take all these science classes? You can be a doctor. And I said, okay, that sounds great, Mom. I'll do it. And so I started down that path. And because my college job was working at Zinc, and then pretty quickly we actually went on a field trip over to Casa Rendena Winery. And as a result of that field trip, I talked to the owner of the winery. Right. He said, maybe, oh, you're taking these science classes. We could use somebody in the lab. You seem like you'd be handy. And so I started as a result of a field trip from Zinc Wine Bar and Bistro, and was annoying enough that I got hired. I asked a question about aldehydes. I asked a question about volatile acidity. I asked some chemistry questions, and the guy was like, "Do you just want to work here?" And oh, sure, that sounds great. So immediately thrown into the industry, started doing lab work over there, but pretty quickly harvest comes.
Yeah.
And as soon as harvest comes, it's all hands on deck. So I'm cleaning tanks. I'm learning to drive a forklift. I'm learning to run a pump and a press and a destemmer and all those things, and just fell in love with it. And started volunteering less and less at the hospital and spending more and more time working for wineries.
It's a different conversation with mom.
Yeah. Well, she's the reason why I'm in the wine business at all. My very first trip when I was a little tiny kid was to the Napa Valley. I think when I was 9 months old, my mom took me to the Napa Valley, in a stroller, and continued to drag me back there year after year, as my mom is a big wine enthusiast.
Okay.
And so I could tell you how to make sparkling wine from the time I was 12. And, you put the yeast in the bottle with the sugar and it makes the bubbles and all that stuff. And so I was steeped in good food and good wine thanks to my mom from the time I was a little kid.
Thank you, Mrs. Sheehan. And we've had the pleasure to meet her because she has been ingrained really in the business. I think one of the first tastings I remember going to in the Valley, she was there running the show.
Oh, yeah. My mom is a dynamo, especially if you give her carte blanche to open all the bottles. So we still do these things called backyard tastings at our winery in the South Valley. The winery is in our backyard, Sunset and Bridge kind of area, tucked in the neighborhood. And if we let my mom go crazy, there will be 15 different bottles she wasn't supposed to open. And you got to try this vintage. You got to try this wine. But she sells it. She's so passionate. She's so excited about the winery. She's so, proud of what we as a collective have been able to accomplish. At the very beginning, it was pretty much just me.
Yeah.
It was me working as, winemaker during the day, and then a waiter at Seasons at night. Worked at Casa Andina for a little bit, but eventually moved on to a place called Tierra Encantada, which is walking distance from our current winery location, and is now, it's on 5 Points, and it's actually now the Center for Action and Contemplations, actually podcast studio space. So we still farm the vineyard out front, which is called the Spiritus Vineyard, make a lovely wine from it. But I worked there as assistant winemaker and eventually head winemaker for almost 10 years, won the best wine in the state a couple times working for other folks, and then really was excited to be able to open our own place in 2015.
You brought up a couple more memories, if I may. In 2008, when you were planting that vineyard in the Valley, I was there with my dad. We had the little starter vines, and I remember putting them into these tiny little miniature cups, and then those eventually would be transferred to the land. I think you were doing was it greenhouse at the time?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so and then now there's the big tasting room, and it's a warehouse full of wine, and it is a welcoming space, and it is where you pick up your wine club stuff if you choose to pick it up. So you've made it a very interactive experience for people to enjoy what you're producing. And for me, maybe that's why I was so excited to see you do more and become such a success, is because I got to see the vines go in the ground. But anyway, so continue the story a little bit more for where you're at. You started with a couple different vineyards. You made yourself learn, like you were on the spot all the time, the machines to the chemistry.
Absolutely. Yeah. That original vineyard is wild. My girlfriend at the time, now wife, she assented to turning our 1-bedroom, like little condo thing into a greenhouse.
Yeah.
So we cut off little bits of vineyard from the Harmio folks, Robert Harmio Vineyards, allowed us to take cuttings from their vineyard. And we basically filled our entire bathroom, floor to ceiling, with Rubbermaid tubs that were full of grapevines that had been snipped. We had the heat dishes from Costco pointed at those Rubbermaid tubs, and that's how we rooted them out. And we showered at my mom's house for a couple of weeks because the entire bathroom was full of these Rubbermaid tubs. Yeah. So we had to keep that room like 85 degrees the whole time. When Mariah came in, we were actually putting them in tiny little pots and growing them up. And so in 2008, actually, we planted our first vineyard, the Elise Vineyard, named after my wife. Good way to make friends with your wife. Name a vineyard after her. It's actually the first of the many wines for Sheehan Winery that won the best wine in the state. Was our Elise Vineyard Chamberson.
Chambie.
Love Chambie. Which won best wine in the state, I think, in 2011. My mistake. 2017.
Yep. Only 2 years after opening. And really, like, a year and a half after opening, because you opened at the end of 2015. What are you doing to make the best wines in New Mexico?
I mean, initially, I got a really good opportunity to intern, to practice, to work for other wineries, such that 10 years plus of winemaking experience before we ever opened our doors allowed me to, do a lot of experimentation, use my chemistry degree in lots of interesting ways. If we had all the time in the world, I could tell you all the experiments we did in 2007 and 2009 and 2011, 2014, as we were ramping up to get open. And so the wines got a lot better in those 10 years of experimentation.
Gotcha.
And we continue to do those experiments to this day. I think the wines that we're producing today are noticeably better than the wines we were making at the very beginning of our winery. So it's constant improvement, constant process. Every year I go to a big wine educational conference in California and ask as many questions as I can and continue to learn. I think that what is exciting about wine is our ability to take this product from either grapes we grow ourselves or from New Mexico growers and do the very best job we can with it. As much as anything, I feel like I'm a shepherd of all this hard work of all these people who are doing this really difficult work of agriculture. And so it's on me to make the very best wine we possibly can in this state, to respect the growers, to respect the land as much as anything.
Well, there's a couple different directions we could go there, and I appreciate that you give so much credence to the people that are putting in the work and utilizing the land. You also speak to the fact that you have this history of education only because of what other people have done in the past. We're talking about building up to what you will be celebrating is 400 years of wine in New Mexico. So I want to come back to that for sure, because there's so many things. I also want you to talk a little bit about the experiments, because I think you said you're working with C&M students on those.
Oh yeah, we are. I helped put together the curriculum for the winemaking program at C&M here in Albuquerque. And we are doing winemaking boot camps, or have done winemaking boot camps, whereby we get grapes from New Mexico. We have both crushed them at our facility and pressed them at our facility, but then had them fermented by the students at C&M. And so it's a really exciting time to be getting into winemaking in New Mexico. My goal, as much as anything, is to help promote the idea that you can start your own winery, that it is possible. It's not just for rich people. Like, I was working at a restaurant, man, grinding it out every night, making money, waiting tables. And I was able to start a full-fledged winery through that process. And now the goal is through C&M that we're going to be able to get the training to folks. All the boot camps have been scholarships. So nobody's paid to do any of these winemaking boot camps. It's a really cool program. Awesome. And so for me, it's an opportunity to give back. What you said before about how I came into an industry that was already built for me in a lot of ways. Yeah. I stand on the shoulders of giants, as we all do. And so the Grouet family, the Lescombe family, Paulo de Andrea and his family, coming from France for the Grouets and the Lescombes, and from Italy for Paulo, and building the modern New Mexico wine industry, establishing the festivals, and from the early 1980s until 2005, when I came into the industry, really bringing up the quality of New Mexico grapes, of actually planting vineyards, actually putting New Mexico on the map again. We were the third largest wine producing state at the time of Prohibition. And so we were making a ton of wine in the 1920s or the 19 teens before Prohibition came. And then between Prohibition and flooding, our wine industry was decimated. And so it took from then until these families coming and believing in the Mexico terroir, believing in the New Mexico weather and our ability to grow grapes here, ability to make really good wine here. It really is those families who started the industry that now I have the privilege to lead as the president of New Mexico Wine.
It's beautiful. And now you're carrying it forward in so many different ways. Maybe there's no way to compartmentalize it, but I want you to review your top 3 goals, or your general 3 goals that you reflected to me yesterday, that I think speak to the broader work. Let's see where we can go.
Absolutely.
Remember what they were?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So the winery, our winery, and kind of my goals for my adult life in a lot of ways are tied up together. And those are to make the very best wine that's ever been made in the state of New Mexico, for everybody to be happy. Yeah. So that means me happy, our staff are happy, our farmers are happy, the industry as a whole is really happy. We do a great job as an industry of rooting for each other and cheering for each other. And when Jaramillo wins a medal, or Vivak wins a medal, or Noisy Water wins a medal, or Grouet wins a medal, whoever wins a medal, I'm like, oh, that's awesome, guys. Keep going. And the customers are happy. And then, so those are the first 2 goals that kind of I established over the first 10 years of Sheehan Winery. Right. And then in this year, 2026, we have a third top level goal that I really want to make a huge priority this year, which is to have the greatest impact possible on the community that has supported us so much. So that means Albuquerque first, but ultimately, hopefully we can really help the entire state of New Mexico to grow more grapes, to have more wineries, to have more young winemakers in the state, to have more people passionately pursuing their dreams of making amazing wine in this state.
Well, and also when you say community, you're not talking just about the winemaking community. You're talking about young people. You're talking about local nonprofits. You're talking about other partners that you can engage with to sort of lift up all the boats in different ways. So one of the reasons why we're here today is because I may have had a glass of wine in Old Town one time at your tasting, but I had in hand the edible, what is this? This is the early winter issue from November, December 2025, where you are highlighted as one of the local heroes. And as I do, I needed an autograph. Can you see that?
I remember that. I've given very few autographs in my life, so that was a moment. That was great.
I really wanted to honor it because this does so much to raise awareness about partly what you're doing more to grow the industry, but also I think they're recognizing that Sheehan Winery is playing a role in improving our community in a number of ways. I don't remember if it says it specifically here, but this is an opportunity for you to speak, to start out telling us about that work with your partnership with United.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're very blessed to be partnered with Mexico United Soccer Club and the Somos Unidos Foundation. Very excited for our opportunities to not only donate money, which we do with every bottle we sell of our vintage United wines, but also,
notice the name change.
Oh, yes. Rebrand. So we
same, different name.
Same wines, basically the same labels.
Yes.
But now we will be known as Vintage United in our United partnership. Yeah. So yes, it's wonderful to sell wine, go to the festivals, tell the story, and donate. We've donated, more than $30,000 to the Somos Unidos Foundation over the course of the partnership, and the hope is to continue to grow that. Yeah. And the thing that I think we've done just as well as that is people power. So we absolutely are happy to make our vehicles available when they need to move things around. We are absolutely happy to help support them and set up and break down for events for the Somos Unidos Foundation. I think that Fia, who is the executive director of Somos Unidos, and I have a wonderful relationship, and I'm really excited to continue to grow that partnership and find ways that we can continue to help not only the wine industry, but the community on the whole. And I mean, a little thing that we've done is usually our donations go directly to the Somos Unidos Foundation, but Fia said, hey, right now our budget is looking pretty good. How would you feel about your donations going to Jefferson Middle School, where I went to middle school? These kids need coats. And I said, absolutely, let's do that. Well, I'm 100% behind that for 1,001 reasons. And so the opportunity to continue to grow our outreach into the community, to utilize our partnerships, and even something as simple as our tasting room in Old Town, to make the meeting space available for free to nonprofits. And they don't have to come and drink wine. If they want to come and have a meeting, they want to have coffee and pastries, bring it in. We have space available. We have opportunities available to help as many people as we can, which is the new, biggest, maybe top, highest level goal of the winery, is to make the best impact we possibly can in the community.
Yeah, I love it so much. And I really want to support your efforts for that. So I will be one of the first organizations at the city in my board to utilize the space.
Awesome.
And of course, continue to go to tasting events. And briefly, there's so much more we can dive into, but you do have some events coming up.
We do, yeah. Valentine's Day is coming, which means wine.
Valentine's Day.
we do that too.
Yep.
With or without a date, all good. But we do wine and chocolate pairing usually around Valentine's. So we will be having wine and chocolate pairing, old school backyard tasting. So at the winery proper, not in Old Town. Nice. On the Saturday and Sunday of Valentine's Day weekend. In addition to that, the next week, we will be releasing our brand new Rosé, which I think is absolutely beautiful. A huge step forward in quality. Yeah. In addition to new vintage Montepulciano, new vintage. It's been quite a few years since we had Barbera, and the new Barbera is incredible. So the 21 Barbera was very well received. Mm-hmm. And we were able to get access to the Barbera grapes again in 24. So the 24 Barbera will be released as well, and it's gorgeous. So that the release party will be in Old Town Albuquerque, free to attend. We just want people to get wine in their glasses to hear the story. and to come and enjoy with us.
Yeah. Well, one of the best things that people can also experience is more time with you at your tastings. You make them educational. People stop and they listen to the information behind the wine itself, the science of the wine, where you specifically sourced it from, how you made it into what it is. And I think you were saying that the rosé, particularly, you'll be able to show the line of colors.
Yes.
And the evolution of this.
Yes, exactly. We'll be able to taste previous vintages of our rosé.
Your mom's going to be there opening?
Oh, yeah, 100%. So we'll have older vintages available to taste, if only to understand kind of the science of what it means to make rosé wine, how the amount of time the juice touches the skins really impacts the color of the wine, the texture of the wine, and honestly, the kind of the quality of the wine. And so for us in early vintages of that particular rosé, we allowed the juice to touch the skins for, as much as a whole night. And so a lot of people don't know this, but with red wine, all the juice is clear. The only way that red wine turns red is by touching the skins. It's almost like steeping tea. And so we will take a bin of grapes and run it through a machine called a destemmer, which does exactly what it sounds like. It takes the grapes off the stems, it crushes them, and then we get them into a tank. And with red wine, that juice and skins and seeds will all stay together for 2 weeks or so. With rosé, because we just want to turn it pink and not deep, dark garnet or ruby or, all these beautiful wine words. We don't want to turn it red. We would just want it to be pink. The amount of time that the juice can touch the skins can vary based on the kind of style you want to make.
Yeah.
And over the years, we've had more and more confidence in our ability to keep the wine really light and bright and refreshing. And so this new vintage is as light as we've ever done. So we basically just crush the grapes directly into a press and press them off. So almost no skin contact. And as a result, we just have a light touch of pink, a little bit of that strawberry essence, but we get more of the floral, more of the bright, more of the fresh. And so I'm really excited to share that with people going forward.
This is our pre-show for that taste.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah.
I brought the wrong wine. So my sample today is one of my favorites. It's the 2021 Mourvedre. The first R is a little silent. From the El Legado Vineyard.
Yes.
The reason why it specifies El Legado Vineyard is because you have a number of vineyards that you source those grapes from.
Absolutely.
This is another tangent. I want you to give a little cliff notes on it.
Absolutely. So we farm about 15 acres in the Albuquerque area. And that used to take care of all of our production. Blessedly, the winery's grown quite a bit. And as a result, we have started to make outreach into the grape growing community.
Yeah.
The 15 acres are wonderful. We farm a lot of small vineyards, a lot of people's backyard vineyards. We pop over and we'll farm an acre here and half an acre there.
Yeah.
We have 3 acres of our own down in Bosque Farms, the Elise vineyard we talked about earlier that we planted in 2008. But I think last year the winery bought grapes from 17 or 18 different small growers throughout the state. Wow. So the opportunity for us to keep these grape growers going, to support their hard work, to pay them a fair price or above a fair price if possible, for really wonderful grapes. In the case of the El Legado Vineyard, the original founder of that vineyard was a man named Don Pabst, who was a retired engineer who established it. And El Legado, or Legacy Vineyard, was that he wanted his legacy to be that he was the best grape grower in New Mexico. And so it's cool. It's great. And those wines, we won the best wine in the state for El Legado Merlot one year. We'd get Merlot, Malbec, and Mourvedre from that particular vineyard. And the new owner is a guy named Scott Bannister. And he wants to carry forward. Don Pabst is in his 80s now. And so that's a lot of hard work to be farming a 5, 6, 7 acre vineyard in your 80s. Yeah. So the new owner, Scott Bannister, is committed to the same level of quality to make the very best grapes possible. And the wonderful thing, one of the things that has helped us make really good wine over the last 10 years is those relationships with grape growers.
Right.
Is that increasingly I'm finding that we're doing a really good job on the winemaking side. Yeah. And so now the next opportunity to improve the quality of the wine is to go to the source, to go to the grape growers, to do a better job of farming ourselves. Everybody's able to farm organic in New Mexico because it's a dry climate. So we don't worry so much about some of the fungal issues that can happen in places like Virginia or the American South, where they have powdery mildew and black rot and that kind of stuff. So for us, the ability for people to farm organically and to really take good care of their vines is the next step, the next frontier. And so supporting our growers,
Right.
putting them in touch with generally with New Mexico State. We have a wonderful new state viticulturalist named Geraldine.
Slow it down. Viticulturist.
Oh yes, viticulturalist is
Viticulturist.
viticulture is the science of growing grapes.
Great.
And so Geraldine is doing a wonderful job of outreach throughout the state.
Yeah.
She is our state viticulturalist. Thankfully, we have funding for that position now. And so we have a dedicated person who goes around the state and helps growers of all sizes grow better grapes. And so my opportunity to provide my expertise until I hit a wall and I don't know anymore, and then to call Geraldine and say, hey, we have this amazing grape grower in ABQ. We have this awesome grape grower down in Las Cruces or Deming in the South Valley or Belen. Will you go to their vineyard? Will you take a look at it? Will you tell them the ways in which they could do better?
That's awesome.
It takes a community of all of us pulling together to make the very best wine we possibly can in the state.
I was going to say, this is really a team effort to bring us our glasses of beautiful wine statewide. And you being able to tell these stories, I think really does matter to the people, not only to recognize the effort that they've been putting into, but your partners and your customers. I mean, so many people here want to know where our food comes from. At the very least, tell me where my glass is coming from or the history of it. I love the team. I'm picturing a map of New Mexico, and there's like this person, that person, and Geraldine, who's my new best friend, and Sean and Tamina, and your mom bringing me a flight or something. And that to me, maybe is one of the most beautiful things to think about in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, that's the amazing thing about wine is that the wine that we make here in New Mexico can only be made here.
Yep.
And I think early in my time in the industry, back in 2005, 2006, 2007, the wineries I was working for, and maybe a lot of wineries around New Mexico, at times we didn't have confidence that the wines of New Mexico were really world-class. Yeah. Sometimes we would even be like trying to make an imitation of Napa Valley or an imitation of Bordeaux. We'd add extra oak, or we'd really do a lot of extraction. We'd do all these techniques that we thought were the way to make wine to be fancy or to be polished. And over the course of my winemaking career is now old enough to drink, 21 years old. And so over the 21 years that I've been making wine in New Mexico, more and more it's my intention to lean into what New Mexico wine wants to taste like, what it wants to be, which is lighter, brighter, livelier, more fruit forward, really lifted aromas that just jump out of the glass. And blessedly, those wine styles really pair with our food that is local to New Mexico. Mm-hmm. People often talk about the sweet wines in New Mexico and we'll say, oh, it's all sweet there, which is not true.
Right.
Our winery makes way more dry wines than sweet wines, and the sweet wines that exist, they exist largely to pair with New Mexican cuisine. Yeah. Carne Adobada with red chili does not taste good with Cabernet. I don't care who you are, man. It tastes really good with an off-dry or semi-sweet red wine. Yeah. That has lifted, fruity aromas really pair well with the chili. Mm-hmm. Green chili chicken enchiladas. You want Riesling, you want Moscato, you want Gewürztraminer, you want something with a little bit of sweetness and a little bit of spice in your glass to complement those flavors.
Love it.
And so from my perspective, we are in a unique opportunity where we can absolutely bring the food of New Mexico that only exists here with the wines of New Mexico that can only be made here, only exist here in the same way, and offer the people of New Mexico and Albuquerque, of course, but also people coming from all over the world an opportunity to really taste what it is to be New Mexican and be really passionate about New Mexican excellence. And really the idea that what we have here is really special. We have our own music, our own food, our own culture, our own artwork. And like, what more could we ask for? I'm born and raised here. I was born at Presbyterian Hospital on Central. And like, I'm proud to be a part of Albuquerque. I'm proud to be a part of New Mexico. I'm proud to showcase that to the world as we roll into what is about to be the 400th anniversary of not only making wine in New Mexico, but making wine in America.
That's right. That's right.
Yep. Go.
Thank
keep
you.
Going. I mean, in 1629, Franciscan monks came to the missionary in Socorro, or the mission in Socorro, and they planted the mission grape for Sacramento wine. And so in 1629, that was the birthplace of winemaking, not only in New Mexico, but in America. And you better believe in 2029, we're going to throw ourselves a big party. And we are going to invite people from all over the world to come and taste what it is to be New Mexican. The food, the wine, the culture, the artwork, all of it. And so I'm really excited for us to build into this, what should be an enormous celebration.
And I think I'd really love to hear more about that. Let's dive into not just the story of wine in New Mexico and the story that you want to tell, but the platform that you have now. with the New Mexico Winemakers Association. You are the incoming president. You are existing president. I'm not sure what the timeline is. Help me out.
I think about a year ago,
Okay.
that I had the great honor of being elected to be the president of New Mexico Wine, which is incredible. We are really excited to help promote New Mexico wine anywhere and everywhere we can. The statistic that always sticks in my head is only 4% of wine purchased in New Mexico is New Mexico wine. And so we have so much room to grow. It is my goal to get that to 6% and 8% and 10% and 12% to 40% eventually.
Yeah.
Such that the industry that I leave to my kids, the industry that I leave to the next generation of winemakers is one that is thriving, where we have vineyards throughout the state producing amazing grapes and amazing wine. And there's little things that we can do where the hope is that we continue to see more and more New Mexico wines represented on wine lists. Yeah. When people fly into the Sunport,
restaurants.
There's been a huge push in the Sunport, for instance, to have a bunch of local cuisine. Mm-hmm. And we would love to see New Mexico wine featured all over the place in that. That is the conduit through which so many people travel.
Hashtag Sheehan layover.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Absolutely. And so the goal with our both legislative push and to get more interest and more programs going for New Mexico wine, and our push just into the community is for people to really taste and enjoy and celebrate this thing that so many people work so hard for, right, and this thing that can only be made here. I think more than anything, I do want to focus on the idea that New Mexico wine is special. Mm-hmm. It is unique. Mm-hmm. And that my goal is when people are coming into the Sunport, that in 10 or 20 years or in 5 years, they're not just thinking red or green, they're thinking red, white, or rosé as they're traveling down that escalator. And they're coming out to see the tasting rooms. Yeah. They're coming out to see the wineries, that we have this huge agritourism push. I mean, we've been very fortunate to be supported by the Los Poblanos folks, mm-hmm, and to have our wines featured, prominently in Campo and prominently and in all their properties. Yeah. And that's amazing because so many of the people who are traveling to New Mexico are visiting that place, and they're able to at least the huge push towards local. And I think we're going to see that more and more throughout the state. There's lots of initiatives, some of which I can talk about, some of which are still in the works, but that we are going to see more and more New Mexico wine in places of prominence as a means of really lifting that number from the 4% to 6% to 8%, to the point where New Mexico wine, you can't go anywhere without seeing us mm-hmm. prominently featured.
Mm-hmm. And this isn't really, this is coming from wanting to support local at the most basic level, but also the industry as a whole, the up and coming winemakers, the legacy winemakers, the destination experience that Albuquerque really can be for the people that live here and for the people that come through here. It's because the wine is good. It's because it's winning awards for reasons. It's because it's recognized elsewhere too. Every time I see people at Sheehan, they're taking bags out. They take it to go. And kudos to New Mexico and New Mexicans for being a wine-loving state. And kudos to you and the board for really trying to level up, not just the sales, but the experience of it and where it belongs. I might not be going in for the Carne Nevada, but I want to know what's in for my Calabocitas. I will come to you for experiences like that and other wineries, which I love that you are great at lifting up. I'm a fan of Vivac and Jaramillo, and the only reason I know that is because I was comfortable at your winery at a wine fest to sit and learn from you so that I knew what I liked at other places. You might not be a wine drinker, and that's totally great, but I hope that people are experiencing some level of awareness now about how hard the industry works and how they're working together to lift each other up. And that can be a reflection of other things that are happening in New Mexico. And I think it's a very also New Mexican thing to be community minded. And Sean, you're leading a very unique experience right now. So kudos. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's New Mexico against everybody. It's kind of the way we feel. We used to have these t-shirts, and we're probably gonna bring them back, that says Napa makes auto parts, New Mexico makes wine.
So the upgrade of this will have a different byline. I'm exactly right. Ready for it.
No, 100% New Mexico true and 100% supporting local are the visions for the future of our industry.
Fabulous. Okay. Well, so Maybe we can do another update when we're closer to the anniversary or even later this year. Who knows what? Maybe we could do a remote tasting. These guys get a little,
Road trip.
these guys get nervous when I talk about doing remote stuff. But Sean, before I leave you today with this energy that I'm going to carry with me all day, thank you for the positivity. Is there something else on your mind that is work-related, family-related, Albuquerque-related, about what you're excited about for the next, I don't know, spring?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it is the community outreach. It is, I don't know. We go to all the United games. We love United. And so the season's about to start.
Yeah.
We're going to have a big kickoff. We have our rebrand for our Vintage United line of wines. We have a Tempranillo that is as yet unreleased, but is incredible, that we will be, showcasing at the kickoff celebration for the New Mexico United start of their season.
Cool.
So we're excited rolling into that. I'll be at the Lobo game tonight. Hopefully we beat Utah State.
Yeah.
Big game. So we went to the University of New Mexico.
Yeah.
My mom, in addition to dragging me to lots of food and wine events, also she's a little bit locally famous for having gone to every single game since the pit opened. So she's gone to more than 50 years of games in the pit.
Wow.
And she's gone to more than 30 straight years of the conference tournament for the Lobos.
Wow.
So she will be in Vegas as she always is.
That's cool.
And so for me, honestly, Lobos, New Mexico United, seeing some of the snow melt, seeing the vines bud out, and honestly, getting out. So this is maybe a little, it's not silly. It's actually, I think it's gonna be really cool. Is like, we're going to go on the road as soon as we've got some leaves on the vines and do interviews with all our grape growers.
That's really
cool. We're going to have them tell their stories, and we'll put it on the website, we'll put it on social, do all that stuff. But ultimately, for us to go and really showcase, because the growers don't get very much shine. I get to go and release these wines and people clap, but I tell them what I did and I did this technique and we did this and we got this new press and it makes it better and all this stuff, right? And 100 people show up for that. 100 people never show up at these people's vineyards. And so for me, our opportunity to showcase all the great growers that help us throughout the state is something I'm really excited about for the spring as well, is an opportunity also to then get some FaceTime with them and be like, hey guys, are you guys, how excited are you for the new growing season?
Yeah.
So I'd say for the next few months, those are things that have me, lit up and excited.
Okay. We'll be looking out for those for sure. And if you need tasters or people to check the vines for you, that's fine with me.
Always.
I was one of those folks who helped you guys plant in the North Valley one time. And over the last 3 years, I think we've been able to see them grow. And I know that in the next, maybe, 3 more years, I'll get a bottle. And
we're going to release the Blau Frankish this summer.
What?
Yeah. 7,200 vineyard.
It is not hard to please me.
So yes, those wines are in some of that wine's already bottled and all of it's in the barrel. So the hard work that you did with the community, you want to talk about community, we had 100 people show up to help us plant that vineyard.
That's right.
And then I want to say kids from Bosque Prep came and finished the planting.
Oh, fun.
The next week as part of their community experience and their community outreach. So we don't get anywhere without all of the people pulling together and helping us. Right. And so I'm grateful to the community. I'm grateful to Albuquerque for supporting us and pulling for us and helping us grow and make it happen.
Yeah. Well, as you go to talk to those farmers, please let them know that there are more people behind you, behind the camera, that are looking forward to their stories. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate your time today, Sean. You'll see me again. Bring my friends. I might be DD now and then, but I always love to share the spirit of Sheehan Winery.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. And I hope other people come back for another ABQ accent.